Welcome back for the 7th book in the Animorphs series. Number 7, The Stranger. And the tagline on this one is, "This time there may be no way out." And please get excited for the interior cover illustration. So as always, we get to see one of the Animorphs morphing into a new morph, and then that animal in its natural habitat, which is here in an elevator with a gorilla and a tiger. Oh no, this is like the first damage to any of my first editions. The title page is not glued in properly. I also noticed that this is the first of the books that doesn't seem to have a dedication page, but now I wonder if the dedication page is in the box with the others. Because, yeah, I think some of the glue along the spine of this book is, I don't know if it's just old or brittle or if it was never quite properly attached, but there might be a dedication page swimming around in a Rubbermaid tub somewhere. And we'll take a look for that. As a bit of a recap and prelude about the Animorphs series in general, I had been thinking about like how serialized these are. And as you may already know, if you participated in Friday Night Fright Club, the Goosebumps books are an anthology series. And although there are several franchises within franchises, so you do get to revisit some of the same characters in multiple books. They're mostly an anthology series, meaning most of those books are self-contained stories. By contrast to the Goosebumps book series, the Animorphs books are almost a soap opera, eh? The book series really does tell one continuous story, and each and every book is a bit like an episode that introduces a few more kernels of information and the plot thickens. It could be a CW teen drama, and could be. I mean, as I'm saying that, should be. As I'm saying that, I demand it. I demand the Animorphs book series be adapted as a CW teen drama or HBO. I think the actual television series that ran for not very long, it was done by Nickelodeon in partnership with YTV, I think. I may be mistaken, but I think it was a Nickelodeon show. And I look back at that and I think, well, there's your problem right there. Like, these are intensely dark books and could not have been adapted, I think, by a children's television network. But, like, if HBO would like to take a stab at it, I'm interested. Yeah. And yes, the television show, it starred Shawn Ashmore as Jake, and Brooke Nevin as Rachel, and Christopher Ralph as Tobias. I don't recall the other actors. The one who played Axe, I thought, was a pretty good Axe, and Paul somebody. The others, the other two, I don't think went on to do anything else. I don't remember their names. But I really liked some of the casting. Like, Shawn Ashmore is not the way I had imagined the character Jake, but he worked. Like, he played the role fine. And I actually thought Brooke Nevin and Christopher Ralph were really good in those roles. So. Possibly I just thought Christopher Roth was hot at that age. Anyway, I swear there was a point I was getting to, and I think it was that this book feels a lot like the first season finale. So I was thinking when I made the thumbnail image for the YouTube live stream tonight that this is the 26th episode of Casual Animorphs Book Club I've done, and that turns out about right. But yeah, if we're harkening back to the 90s where television shows got 26 episodes per season or so, then it feels a bit fitting that in the 26th episode of a YouTube live streaming series, we're hitting on what feels kind of like the first season finale. And then we get like the midwinter break or something and the holiday special with the first Megamorphs book. I think I'm mixing a lot of like American and British television practices in a way that makes no sense. But yeah, it does feel very much like a CW teen drama. And at episode 26, this is something exciting. I need to stop talking. I'm so sorry. Chapter 1. My name is Rachel. You know the drill. I'm not going to tell you my last name. I'm not going to tell you where I live. I'll tell you all I can, because you need to know what's going on. You need to know what's happening. But I need to stay alive. And if the Yeerks knew who I was, I would be dead. Or worse. The Yeerks are here. That's what you need to know. People look up at the stars at night and wonder what it would be like if creatures from another planet ever landed on Earth. Well, you can stop wondering. It's happened. The Yeerks are parasites. They live in the brains of other species. Humans, for example. They turn human beings into mindless slaves, human controllers. So when I say that aliens are here, don't go looking around for some cute little thing like E.T. You won't see the Yeerks. They are parasitic worms, evil gray slugs that live in the heads of humans. They can be anyone. Your best friend, your favorite teacher, the mayor of your town, your brother, sister, mother, father. Anyone might be a controller. You might be a controller. So I won't tell you my last name or where I live, but I will tell you the truth. The truth that only the Animorphs know. Animorph, animal morpher, a human capable of becoming any animal. It's our one weapon against the Yeerks, our only power. Without it, we're just 5 regular kids. But with that power comes, well, certain extra responsibilities, as I was trying to explain to my best friend Cassie. It was a Sunday night. It was late. The circus had finished its last show. Their trailers and tents were clustered around the backside of the big city arena. The arena is a place where they hold rock concerts and ice shows and play basketball games, and where they have circuses. Look, we both saw what we saw, I told Cassie. Are you telling me it doesn't make you mad? That jerk using a cattle prod on an elephant doesn't make you mad? Of course it does, Rachel, Cassie said. I don't even like circuses. I don't either. But my dad had tickets, and it was our big once every other week father-daughter thing. I had to come. My dad had taken my sisters and me to see the circus earlier in the evening. See, my mom and dad are divorced, so my dad does these little outings where we all get together every second weekend. Sometimes it's just me and my dad, like when we go hiking together, or go to the ball game, or gymnastics events. Those are all things my dad and I like, but Jordan and Sarah, my sisters, they don't. My little sisters loved the circus, but it's not my kind of thing. I guess I'm too old. That's why I dragged Cassie along. So I'd have someone to talk to when my sisters were getting all excited over the clowns and stuff. Still, it was an opportunity to spend time with my dad, which I enjoy. I don't get to see him as much as I wish I could. Everyone always says how much I'm like him, how he's kind of reckless, and so am I. He always seems so sure of himself, and I guess people think I'm that way too. We're even both into gymnastics. My dad almost made the US Olympic team when he was a teenager. Of course, I've never told my father about my other life. I couldn't, but I wish I could. He would worry about me and all, but he would also think it was cool. My dad is very big on standing up for what's right. I think he would admire what I do. That would be nice. Feeling like my dad admired me. There wasn't much activity in the little tent in Trailer City outside the arena. I could hear dogs barking. I could hear raucous laughter coming from a brightly painted trailer. I could smell the usual circus smells: manure, hay, beer, cotton candy. There were security guards around the perimeter of the area, but I wasn't worried about them. I've gone one on one with Hork-Bajir warriors. After you fought one of those 7 foot tall walking razor blades, regular old humans don't scare you much. Cassie and I walked silently past the tiger cage. The three big cats just stared blankly. It was night. They wanted to be in the jungle. Instead, they were in a too small cage, trapped in a nightmare invented by humans. Pardon me? Then I saw the elephant pen. There was a sturdy fence around 4 big Asian elephants. Let me try that again. Then I saw the elephant pen. There was a sturdy fence around 4 big Asian elephants. They were a little different from the African elephant I knew so well, but they were elephants just the same. I have sort of a special relationship with elephants. Cassie and I had come to the elephant pen before the circus and seen the way their trainer treated them. He had used a cattle prod on them. It's a stick with a massive electrical shock. He used it to control the animals. Later, during the show, he'd put on a big act of loving his elephants, but I'd seen the cattle prod. I just sat there, doing a slow boil all through the show. I knew I was going to have to take some action. The elephant trainer's name was Joseph something hard to pronounce. Well, he didn't know it yet, but Mr. Joseph something, he didn't know it yet, but Mr. Joseph something was about to have an eye-opening experience. See anyone around? I asked Cassie. You know, Jake is going to read you the riot act over this, Cassie warned. I laughed. Read the riot act? That's like something my mother would say. What does it even mean? Cassie shrugged and smiled her shy smile. I don't know. My dad says it all the time. I was trying to sound responsible and mature and parental. Look, I am going to do this, I said. Cassie sighed. Why did I let you talk me into it? Because you know I'm right. Cassie rolled her eyes. Just don't hurt the guy, okay? Me? Miss Peace, Love, and Understanding? He'd just better not show up carrying that cattle prodder. I swear I'll... I noticed Cassie had stopped walking. She was giving me her sorrowful look, like she was ashamed of me. I cringed. Okay, I'll just talk to the guy. Turn off the look. I hate that look. You're going to be a really good mother someday, with a look like that. I found the gate in the elephant pen and opened it. I slipped inside while Cassie retreated into the shadows to watch my back. I moved slowly, not making any threatening moves that might alarm the elephants. Elephants may be gentle, but they are big. You don't want to be in the middle of 4 upset elephants. I went to a far, dark corner of the pen and began the familiar ritual of focusing my mind. I concentrated on the elephant. My elephant. The elephant whose DNA was a part of me. And then I began to change. Chapter 2. People say I'm pretty. I don't know, and I really don't care. But I'll tell you one thing, no one who has ever seen me morph into an elephant ever used the word pretty to describe it. I felt the thickening of my legs and arms. I watched as my skin grew leathery and gray as mud. I felt the sudden sprouting of my trunk as my nose and upper lip seemed to explode outward together. Pinocchio, eat your heart out, Cassie whispered. I felt the teeth in the front of my mouth run together and then begin to grow and grow into long spear-length tusks. It's a creepy sensation, by the way. Not painful, but definitely creepy. I was growing big, more than big. I was gaining several thousand pounds. Several thousand pounds. I was about 12 or 13 feet tall. I had ears like beach blankets. I had a little ropey tail. I was a full-grown African elephant, and I was ready to have a little, talk with Mr. Joseph something. I threw up my trunk and let go of a trumpet blast. It was the sound of a very angry elephant. You could have warned me, I heard Cassie whisper. Almost wet myself over here. It took about 3 minutes before the trainer came rushing into the pen. In the dark, all he saw were the gray shapes of his elephants. I wasn't exactly hiding, because, let's face it, when you're an elephant, you can't scrunch up and look small. But I was staying back until he was all the way inside the pen. Then, I lunged forward, pushing 2 of the other elephants aside. The trainer gaped up at me. What? What the? In a sudden, fluid movement, as he stared in puzzlement, I wrapped my trunk around his waist. Hey, you're not one of my elephants. Here's the thing about elephant trunks. Sorry. 1 second. Here's the thing about elephant trunks. They are so subtle that I can pick up an egg with my trunk and never crack it. Or I can pick up a tree and throw it across the yard. Joseph something knew this. I wrapped my trunk tightly around his waist, and then I lifted him up off the ground. His feet kicked helplessly in the air. His arms pounded weakly on my trunk. I lifted him up until he was at my eye level. Hi, Joseph, I said, using thought speak. What the? Who said that? I'm hearing voices. Me, I replied. I said it. See, Joseph, I am from the International Elephant Police. We have some complaints about you. This is crazy. What are you? Is this some sort of a joke? So I squeezed him a little tighter, just enough so he couldn't really breathe very well. Now, listen to me, because I could just as easily squeeze you out like a tube of toothpaste, so pay attention. You have been using cattle prods on your elephants. That is a no-no. But, he gasped, they are my property. Oh, this man was just not getting the message. So I extended my trunk a little and held him right over the tip of my left tusk, like a worm about to be placed on a fishing hook. With one twitch of my trunk, I can make you a shish kebab. Now, are you going to listen to me? Yes, I'm listening, he said. I am listening very closely. No more cattle prods. No more pain of any kind. Do you understand me? Yes, because I'll be watching. And if you ever hurt an elephant again, I'll come back for you. And I will squeeze you until you pop like an overcooked hot dog. Do you understand me? Yes. Joseph, can you fly? What? Can I fly? No, of course not. I'll bet you can, I said. And with that, I lowered my trunk almost to the ground. Then, with a sudden toss of my head and a deft twist of my trunk, I sent Joseph something flying. He landed safely atop a tent, about 20 feet away. Now can we go home? Cassie asked. Chapter 3. You threw a guy into the air? Jake asked. Wasn't that maybe just a little unnecessary? No, he made me mad, I said. It was the next day after school, a Monday. We were walking through the woods. Me, Cassie, Jake, Marco, and Tobias. Of course, Tobias wasn't really walking. He was flying overhead in little hops from branch to branch. He stayed close so he could hear us. Red-tailed hawks have excellent hearing, but he still had to stay fairly close. Well, Rachel, you know I sympathize, Jake said mildly, but I don't think our job but I don't think our job is really to right every wrong that's done to animals. That would be a full-time job, unfortunately. I looked at Cassie. She gave me a wink. We kind of didn't tell Jake that she had been there too. Cassie and Jake like each other. She didn't want him to be mad at her. With me, it's a different story. Everyone knows I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing. We have other stuff to deal with, Marco grumbled. The Andalite didn't give us this power so we could turn in sorry. Hmm. We have other stuff to deal with, Marco grumbled. The Andalite didn't give us this power so we could turn into the Animorph Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Fine, I said. Sorry. I keep getting tripped up on the dialogue. Pardon me. Fine, I said, which wasn't exactly like admitting I was wrong. Well, what's got you so serious, Marco? Let's wait until we find Axe. I don't want to have to tell this story twice. So we tromped noisily on through the woods. I felt a surge of excitement. You couldn't have missed the tension in Marco's voice. Something was up. There was a smell of danger in the air, and that meant action. I like action. I like doing things instead of just talking about them. Marco makes fun of me over it. Sometimes he calls me Xena, the warrior princess. But I'm not like one of those morons who's just into danger for its own sake. It's not about cheap thrills. It's about feeling like I'm involved in something very important. I mean, let's face it. As corny as it sounds, we are trying to help save the world. It began months ago. The five of us just happened to hook up together at the mall. It's not like we were a group, really. Not before that night. Jake's my cousin, but we never hung out together much. Jake's sort of in charge. It's not something he ever asked for. It's just that he's good at dealing with responsibility. He's the kind of person you automatically turn to if there's a crisis, and probably the best thing about him is that he can tell people what to do without ever sounding bossy. Since when don't you want to tell the same story twice? Jake teased Marco. I've known you to tell the same tired jokes 80 or 90 times. It's your own fault, Marco said. If you had just laughed the first time, I wouldn't have to keep telling them. Marco is Jake's best friend. He's smaller than Jake, funnier, darker, more skeptical. But his suspicious nature makes him very good at seeing beneath the surface of things. And as much as he whines and complains about the dangerous situations we get into, he's still there in the worst of the fight, still making dumb jokes. Marco has changed lately, at least a little. He doesn't resist being an animorph like he used to. I don't know why. Maybe it's because his dad finally seems to have gotten over the death of Marco's mother. I don't know.
Hey, look! Over by that tree. See? A baby skunk with its mother.
Cassie, of course. No one else would ever notice, let alone get excited, over skunks. Let's run right over and pet them, Marco said. Cassie laughed. I have handled skunks plenty of times and never been sprayed. Yeah, well, that's you, Dr. Doolittle. Cassie has been my best friend forever. I have no idea why. No one does. Because we seem like we would never get along. Cassie lives on a farm. Both her parents are veterinarians. She spends all her free time in the wildlife rehabilitation clinic her dad runs in their barn. They save injured animals. Cassie is very into animals. But she's not one of those animal lovers, who can't stand people. She just thinks of humans as a different species of animal. Then there's Tobias. Back when all this started, Tobias was barely an acquaintance of Jake and Marco, although I kind of knew him. He was a sweet, poetic kind of guy, the kind bullies love to pick on. He used to have messy, out of control hair and dreamy eyes that always seemed to be looking at something nobody else could see. Used to. Now he has fierce, angry eyes that look through you like laser beams. Now he has brownish feathers and a white chest and a reddish tail and cruel-looking talons and a wickedly curved beak. Tobias was trapped in a morph. Now he's a red-tailed hawk, a predator who lives on mice and rabbits and sometimes other birds. I still see him as sweet, gentle Tobias, but he has been a hawk for a long time now. The gift of the Andalite, the power to morph, is a wonderful weapon. But, like any weapon, it can destroy those who use it as well. Here he comes, Tobias called down in the thought speak we use when we're in a morph. I think he sees us. I heard the sound of fallen leaves being stirred, a faint drumbeat of pounding hooves on pine needles. Then, with a leap, he cleared a fallen tree trunk and landed a few feet away from us. Aximili Escaroth Isthil. We call him Axe for short. The sole survivor of the destroyed Andalite dome ship, the only living Andalite on planet Earth. Axe is the brother of Prince Alfangor, the Andalite who warned us about the Yeerk invasion and who gave us the power to morph. Prince Alfangor, who was destroyed by Visser 3, leader of the Yeerk forces on Earth. Hello, Prince Jake, Axe said. Hello, all. As much as I know Axe, and even consider him a friend, it's always a little bit of a shock to see him. He looks like some odd cross of a human, a deer, and a scorpion, but not really like any of those things. His upper body and head are the more or less human-looking parts. He has thin arms and many-fingered hands. His face is flat, with slits for a nose and 2 large almond eyes. He has no mouth at all, which is why thought speak is the natural language for Andalites. From atop his head rise 2 stalks, each with an eye on the end. He can turn these eyes in any direction he wants. They're completely independent of his main eyes. His body is that of a pale blue and tan deer or a thin pony. He has 4 legs that end in hooves, but his back slopes down so that you would never be tempted to think about riding him. And he has a tail, a long, thick, powerful tail that ends in a deadly scythe-shaped blade. I've seen him use that tail. He can strike so fast that the human eye sees nothing but a blur. Hey, Axe, Marco said. How's it going? It is going wonderfully. I was up in the hills yesterday, and I was attacked by one of those very large cats. What do you call them? Cougars? It was very exciting. Are you okay? I asked. Certainly, Rachel. And I did not hurt the cougar, Cassie. Not fatally, anyway. But he won't try to eat me again, I think. Axe gave his strange Andalite smile, an expression he managed even without a mouth. Marco rolled his eyes. I'm telling you, Axe and Rachel belong together. The 2 of you are sick. Someday you could get married while bungee jumping into an active volcano. I squirmed a little. Not because Oh, I like that. I squirmed a little. Not because I minded Marco thinking I was bold, but because I really was not interested in acts that way. Okay, now that we're all here, Marco, maybe you could tell us why we're all here, Jake said. I have some news, Marco began. Actually, Tobias and I have some news. I glanced up at Tobias, sitting in the tree. Of course, he showed no expression. He just fixed his piercing gaze on Marco. Marco swaggered just a bit as we formed a circle around him. It's a tale of initiative and courage and, yes, brilliance, Marco began. No. Just tell us, Marco, I snapped. Don't try to milk the suspense. Okay, he said with an easy laugh. My fellow Animorphs, visiting aliens, we have found a way into the Yerk pool. Chapter 4. An entrance to the Yerk pool? I echoed. Where? How? I looked around at the others to see their reactions. See, we had already invaded the Yerk pool in an effort to save Jake's brother Tom. Not a happy memory. I saw Cassie shudder. Sorry. Axe is the only one who wasn't there for our little vacation in the Yerk pool, Marco said. As the rest of you know, the Yerk pool is in a huge underground cavern. It's practically a small city down there. It's under our school, but it's so big that it also runs beneath the fire station, a couple of gas stations, and most of the shopping mall. Axe nodded. Yerk pools are generally very large and elaborate. They are an important part of Yerk life. The centers of their lives, really. The pools are, for the Yerks, what forests and meadows are to the Andalites. Tobias and I have been working out a pattern of surveillance, Marco went on. For the last week, we've followed our very favorite. For the last week, we've been following our very favorite human controller, Assistant Principal Chapman, everywhere we can. Tobias tracks him from the air, then I follow him when he goes into a building. Why didn't you let the rest of us in on this? I demanded. Marco shrugged. It was a two-person job, that's all. Jake looked as annoyed as I felt. Then I realized why Marco had kept this quiet. Jake had just been through the terrifying ordeal of being infested by a Yerk. For 3 days, he had been a human controller, a prisoner in his own body. Marco had been letting him rest. So? I asked, a little more patiently. So what? Marco answered. So where is this entrance to the Yerk pool? Duh. Well, I was hoping to amaze and entertain you all with the whole story of our brilliant detective work. But the short answer is, in a dressing room, at the Gap, in the mall. That's the entrance. People go in, looking like they're going to try on clothes, and they never come out. At least, they don't come out through the Gap, Tobias added. They come out through the movie theater. When a crowd leaves the movie at the end of a show, there are always more people leaving than went in. In through the Gap, out through the multiplex, Marco laughed. Are these Yerks on top of their popular American culture or what? Good job, Jake admitted grudgingly. The question is, now what do we do? Attack, Axe said instantly. We tried that once, Cassie said quietly. We didn't exactly win. There were dozens of Hork-Bajir and Taxon down there, and human controllers, and he was there, Visser 3. That's when Tobias was trapped in a morph. Like I said, we didn't exactly win. We got hammered, I agreed. Axe, you know I'm usually all for going on the attack, but the Yerk pool is just too big. A warrior is judged by the power of his enemies, Axe said stubbornly, but he didn't sound quite as enthusiastic anymore. Attacking the Yerk pool is out, I muttered. But an idea was occurring to me. Hey, Axe, what can you tell us about the Kendrona? He swiveled his head toward me. What? He swiveled his eyes toward me, while his stalk eyes turned slowly this way and that, searching the woods for trouble. The Kendrona is a miniature version of the Yerk's home sun. It emits Kendrona rays, which concentrate in the Yerk pools. It is what nourishes the Yerks. That is why the Yerks must swim in their natural state in the Yerk pool every 3 days. They need Kendrona rays. So their real weakness is not the pool itself, but this Kendrona, I said, the miniature sun. But the Kendrona may be many miles away from the Yerk pool itself, Axe explained. The Kendrona rays may be beamed to the pool from almost anywhere. So, although I am in favor of attacking the Yerk pool, we should not do it expecting to find the Kendrona there. I agree, I said. But what if we didn't attack the Yerk pool? What if we just spied it out? We might find out where the Kendrona is. Marco laughed. That's more like the Rachel I know. You're starting to worry me there. You're sounding so sensible. How big is a Kendrona? Jake wondered. It would depend on how many pools it had to support. It might be as large as Cassie's barn. It might be the size of one of your cars. The size of a car? The size of a car? Marco joked. Surely a bunch of all-American kids like us could manage to wreck a car. How much would it hurt the Yerks? I asked. That's the question. Is it worth running the risk of going down there again? Down to the Yerk pool? We all looked at Axe. It would depend. If they have a spare Kendrona, it wouldn't hurt them very much. In any case, they have one aboard their mothership, so we would not wipe them out entirely. We all sagged with disappointment. However, it would not be practical for the Yerks to shuttle their human controllers back and forth to the mothership to keep them alive. So what would they do? Marco wondered. How would Visser 3 react? Visser 3 is totally ruthless, I said. He would save as many as he could, but he'd let the rest die. Yes, Axe agreed. It would be a very serious blow. They would survive, but they would be weakened. We'd have to find this Kendrona thing first, Cassie reminded everyone. And wherever it is, it will be guarded. Right then, I guess we all realized we were going to do it. We were going back to the Yerk pool. Jake shook his head slowly. Down to the Yerk pool again. I still have nightmares about the first time. Yeah, Marco agreed. Done that. The Yerk pool, Cassie said grimly and looked away. I didn't say anything. I don't like talking about nightmares, but I had them too. They were pretty bad. I am not very good at understanding human emotions, Axe said, but you all seem afraid, and your fear is beginning to scare me. Good, I said. I don't know if you Andalites believe in places like heaven and hell, but let me just tell you, the Yerk pool is definitely not heaven. Chapter 5. What's for dinner? I asked my mom as soon as I got home. The walk in the woods had made me hungry. Being outdoors always does that to me. So does fear. I just kept picturing the Yerk pool, the cages full of involuntary hosts, humans and Hork-Bajir, temporarily free of their Yerk parasites. I kept hearing them, crying. That's what most of them did while they waited to be reinfested. Others screamed. Some begged for mercy. Or worse. My mom was standing by the kitchen counter. She was more dressed up than she usually was in the evening. She was munching nervously on some Doritos and kind of staring off into space. Mom? Hello? She looked like she hadn't noticed me. Oh, hi, honey. What's for dinner? I'm starving. Your father is coming over tonight for dinner.
He said he would pick something up.
I felt my stomach clench. Something was wrong. Since Since the divorce, my dad never came over for dinner. My two sisters and I spent one weekend a month overnight at his apartment in the city, plus every other weekend outing. But he did not come over for dinner. I wasn't hungry anymore. What's going on? I demanded. My mother got this worried look on her face, which she tried to hide. Your father has something he wants to tell you, girls. He was supposed to tell you the other night at the circus, but I guess he forgot. The way she said, I guess he forgot, made it clear that she didn't think that was the truth. I took my mother's arm. Mom, I don't like suspense, all right? So just the doorbell rang. I heard Sarah running down the stairs. I heard Jordan yell, Stop running on the stairs, you'll break your neck. She sounded just like my mother. It almost made my mom and me smile. That will be your father. I went to the front room. Sarah was leaping into my dad's arms, and Jordan was hovering a couple of feet away. Jordan shot a quick, questioning glance at me. Unlike Sarah, Jordan was old enough to realize something was up. I shrugged and shook my head. Rachel, my dad said. How's my girl? Come take this bag from me. Thai food. We have curry, we have pad thai, we have chicken satay, we have those imperial heavenly whatever they call them shrimp. He handed me the paper bag. He was being too cheerful. My father's a reporter for one of the local TV channels. He does a lot of investigative journalism. Plus, he anchors the news on Saturday and Sunday. Which probably would have made it difficult to take them all to the circus on Sunday, but okay. Plus, he anchors the news on Saturday and Sunday, so he's always wearing nice clothes and always has great hair, and he looks tan even in the total depths of winter. I took the bag to the dining room table and started to unpack the little white boxes of Thai food. Hello, Dan, my mother said, coming into the room with plates and silverware. Naomi, he answered, how have you been? By now, even Sarah had figured out that this was not going to be a happy evening. We ate a little and struggled along with some small talk about nothing, until finally my mom said, Dan, just get it over with. My dad looked embarrassed. He sent me a sheepish smile, like some little boy caught doing something wrong. Okay, he said. He cleared his throat. He sat up straight in his chair, just as if he were waiting for the cameras to come on so he could do the evening news. Kids, I have something I have to tell you about. I've been offered a job, a better job. I wouldn't just be the weekend anchor. I would have the top spot. I'd be anchoring the 6 o'clock broadcast and the 11 o'clock, and I'd get to do specials. Maybe do some really important work. Jordan looked at me, confused. It sounded like good news. There's just one problem, my father said. It's not here in town. In fact, it would mean I would have to move. Where to? Sarah asked. To another apartment? He forced a smile. To another city, sweetie. In another state. 1,000 miles away, my mother said. You know, it's funny how the mind works. See, I've been through more bad things, more terror, more worry, more pain since I became an Animorph than most people deal with in a lifetime. I would have thought I could have handled something like my dad moving away. 1,000 miles away. Congratulations, I said, trying not to show any emotion. It's what you've always wanted. My dad wasn't fooled. He knew I was upset. It's the job, Rachel. It's the way it is. It's not like I won't see you kids. I know it sounds like a long way and all, but that's why we have jets, right? Yeah, I said. That's why we have jets. I think I'll just go upstairs and do some homework now. Wait, I need to, my dad protested. I didn't slam any doors. I didn't throw anything. I just left. Let him feel what it's like, I told myself. Let him feel what it's like to have someone just walk away. I went up to my bedroom and locked the door behind me. I couldn't breathe. I kept clenching my fists and wanting to pound something. Sorry. I kept clenching my fists and wanting to pound something. I think I would have cried, but I was just too angry. Rachel? It was him. He knocked lightly on my door. Can I come in? I couldn't say no. I couldn't say no. It would have sounded like I was upset. Sure, why not? He came in. I'm guessing you're a little upset, he said. I shrugged and turned my back to him. I see. Rachel, you didn't let me finish what I had to tell you downstairs. Rachel, you didn't let me finish what I had to tell you downstairs. Rachel, Jordan and Sarah are still too young to consider this, but you're older. You can look after yourself when I have to work late. They can't. And anyway, look, the thing is, I've talked to your mother about this, and she's not happy about it, but she says it's up to you. I turned to look at him. What's up to me? He smiled uncertainly. Well, it's like this. Karla Belinkoff teaches in... Sorry. Well, it's like this. Karla Belnikoff teaches in the city I'm moving to. You know, she takes in 3 or 4 promising gymnastics students every year. If you wanted, well, it would be the best thing in the world as far as I'm concerned if you came to live with me. I almost asked him to repeat it. I couldn't believe I had heard right the first time. Students of Coach Belnikoff have won 2 gold medals and a bunch of silver ones. Dad, Karla Belnikoff isn't going to take me on as a student. She handles professional level gymnasts. I'm too tall and not good enough. And besides, you're saying I should move out? Leave Mom and Sarah and Jordan? You're the only one who can decide that, my dad said. But as for Coach Belnikoff, you're wrong. You have the talent. I know. If that's something you want to do, if you want to make that your life, you could go places in gymnastics. I shook my head, not to say no, just to try to clear up the confusion. Dad, are you asking me to go with you when you move? Yes. Yes, I know it would be hard on you and your mom and your sisters, but we could make it work. I mean, this job pays a lot of money. You could fly back here anytime you wanted. Every weekend, if you wanted. Was he serious? It sounded ridiculous. Was he actually serious? I sat down on the edge of my bed. My thoughts were everywhere all at once. Leave? Leave my mom and my sisters? This was just because my dad felt guilty. He felt bad about leaving. This was about pity. He felt sorry for me or something. And I know it would mean changing schools, he said. But, gee, Rachel, I think it could be okay, you know? I mean, for one thing, they have serious mountains there. We could do some rock climbing together on weekends. Go hiking. And it's a huge sports town. I need someone to go with me to games. It would be like in the old days. Then he winked. And hey, it's a much bigger city, so think of all the shopping. No, it wasn't pity or guilt, I realized, at least not completely. I think my dad was feeling lonely. He was picturing himself lonely in the new town. Oh man, I said. I don't know what to say. My dad nodded his head. Don't decide now. I wouldn't want you to. Talk to your mom, and Jordan and Sarah too. You think about it. I just think, you know, I've just missed you, sweetheart. We have fun trash talking the umpires at games, don't we? And hiking? Remember the time we got lost? Of course I remember, I said. I just have to think it over, you know? I wanted to say, Dad, you don't understand. It isn't just about Mom and Sarah and Jordan. I have a date, Dad, to go back to the Yerk pool. My friends are counting on me. See, I'm supposed to be Xena, the warrior princess. I'm supposed to go back down there, down into the last place on Earth I want to go. I have to think it over, I repeated. Yeah, so, anyway, I'm gonna go now. Okay, Dad, I said. I love you, Rachel. I wish he hadn't said that. I was doing fine until he said that. Then the tears started. I think one more chapter. Chapter 6. After my dad left, I talked to my mom. She said what I expected. She wanted me to stay, but it was up to me. She trusted me to think it through. Up to me. Great. I could hurt my mom and my sisters, or I could hurt my dad. Perfect. Isn't divorce fun? After I went to bed, I just lay there, staring up at the ceiling. My brain kept churning like a computer you can't turn off. Too many things to think about. My dad, my mom, and the big, huge, massive thing I didn't even want to start thinking about. My friends, the Animorphs, the war against the Yerks. Finally, I knew I had to get out of there. I needed air and open spaces. The walls were just way too close around me. I climbed out of bed and opened my window all the way. I changed from the t-shirt I sleep in to the black leotard I usually wore under my clothes. My morphing outfit. I couldn't think about it anymore. I just needed some space to not think about my father, not think about choices. I focused my mind. I concentrated. Just some time to think, I told myself, as my fingers became feathers and my toes curled into talons. I guess every kid has times they just want to get away. But I had the power to do it. I could even get away from myself. I could even get away from myself. I launched myself into the night. I flew in absolute silence. The wind rushing over the tops of my wings never ruffled a feather. The moon was low on the horizon, just a sliver. High clouds blocked the starlight. The grassy field just a few feet below me would have been black and featureless to human eyes. But I was not looking through human eyes. My eyes were so large they nearly filled my head. They looked through the darkness like it was noon on a sunny day. I could see individual blades of grass. I could see the ants crawling beneath the grass. My hearing was so acute that I could hear a mouse step on a twig from 75 feet away. I could hear the beating wings of a sparrow that was flitting from tree to tree. I had morphed into a great horned owl, the night killer, the predator of darkness. Note that she chose to morph into an owl when she wanted to stop thinking. Just needed a break from all those thoughts rolling around her brain and instead have most of her skull taken up by eyeballs. I flew lower still, closer to the ground, letting the owl's mind search out prey. Here a mouse, there a shrew, there a vole, and all the many little birds. They were all meat to the owl. I could descend, silent and deadly, on a rat or rabbit, spread my talons wide, and strike. I could squeeze my talons until they burst the skulls of my prey. Sorry, I feel like that sentence upset Gilgamesh for some reason. You okay, buddy? Yeah, it's okay. Owls aren't real. I could squeeze my talons until they burst the skulls of my prey, and no, I told myself, I was not Tobias. He had no choice but to be a predator. I had a choice. Like my father had a choice. He could just not move, and then I wouldn't have to make this awful decision. If he knew, if he understood everything, he wouldn't do this. Hmm. He would understand that I was part of the battle to help save Earth. But I couldn't tell him. Not even my dad. He could be one of them. That's what knowing about the Yerks does to you. You look at everyone and wonder what's living inside their brains. Even though I felt like somehow I would just know if my dad were a controller. I guess I've always had a close relationship with my dad. Right from the start, going back as far as I can remember, we were always doing stuff together. I mean, I have this photograph of me when I was 3 years old, standing on a balance beam with my dad holding me up and grinning at the camera. I love that picture, even though I look lame in the outfit I had on. I keep it on my desk in my room. When my mom was pregnant with my littlest sister, Sarah, I overheard my parents talking. I overheard my parents talking. My mom was saying maybe this time she'd have a boy. I know you've always wanted a boy, she told my dad. Oh, come on, he answered. That was years ago. That was years ago. I thought I had to have a boy to do all the fun dad stuff. But I have Rachel. She's as good as any boy. She's already tougher than most boys her age. Have you seen the vaults she can do? My mom groaned. Don't ever let. Sorry. My mom groaned. Don't ever let her hear you say that. Little girls do not want to be told that they're just as good as a boy. But she was wrong. I know it was sexist and all, but I still just thought it was great. My dad thought I was as tough as any boy. Cool. If only he knew what I was doing now, I thought. How could he expect me to make this decision? I couldn't leave my friends. I couldn't. They were counting on me. We were going back to the Yerk pool, and they were counting on me to be brave and strong. That's what they thought I was. But if I was so brave and so strong, why was I suddenly imagining a very different life, a long, long way from the war with the Yerks? Why was I imagining a life of gymnastics classes and ball games with my dad? A place where I was just a person, where no one expected me to go back down into that hell of screams and despair called the Yerk pool. If I was so brave and so tough, why was I imagining a normal life? All right, I will stop there for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Good night.